let's start talking about the supply channel though. Steve, so I'm going to go to you first. ENAP has over 220 independent dealer members, which have a total of, at last count, 436 yards in 28 states. You guys are a pretty big company. First, how can ENAP define, how do you become a member of ENAP? And how do you separate legitimate building supply dealers from shell contractors masquerading as a pure dealer?
We do. We have about 220 dealers, correct, in about 450 locations, and we add about between 15 to 20 new members per year, and we do some consolidations and things like that through the process. So we are recruiting constantly in that way. Our bylaws are pretty. We operate pretty much some of the other 5 co-ops, the other 4 co-ops in the industry. We're looking for independently owned, typically family-run lumber yards, full service. Bylaws require that they operate in retail lumber and building materials. So the other thing we look for is some time in the business. A lot of those masquerading guys are in and out pretty quickly, so those applications don't get very far in ENAP. But we do look for brick and mortar. We look for a full line of products. Doesn't mean because you don't sell roofing you don't become a member. But we're not looking for one-steppers, people that just sell vinyl siding and roofing. We're looking for people that do full service, have lumber yards, have outside sales force, a kitchen and bath department, and they've been in business for a significant amount of time to give the stability that co-op needs in their membership. Because of that, we have a very healthy membership base, fortunately. Only 8 of our members went out of business in the 2008-2009 time frame, which is pretty good. I don't know if that answers your question.
The only question I sort of have as a follow-up is, does the opinions of your members matter who is accepted in the co-op?
It does. We do. We don't have territory restrictions, and I don't believe any other co-ops do as well. But we do look that if we're in a certain territory, we have 1 or 2 other members in that territory, whether a member will be co-op friendly. When I say co-op friendly, we're not a buying group, we're a co-op, and we try to work together to help each other do better. And if the person that may be joining does not seem co-op friendly, we'll kind of stay away from that particular location. So in the early days of the co-op, for us and for LMC and Allen, it was the dealers that actually found members, and they came together and they brought up ENAP. It's kind of evolved now. We all have our outside sales force developing different territories, so it's kind of changed. We bring candidates to our members, and that small shift has created a little bit of a issue for us because we want to make sure that you may have 3 good members in a territory, especially areas where we do real well in. And maybe 2 are very happy to bring a guy in, and a 3rd one may not be happy about a certain individual. So it gets tricky sometimes.
Okay. Deanna Jenkins, you're the president and CEO of an older, well-established building material dealer in Orlando. Thomas Lumber is a traditional independent dealer. And with that in mind, is it okay for your suppliers and manufacturers to sell directly to your customers? And if tomorrow your biggest supplier started selling directly to your largest customer, what would be your reaction?
We're pretty old school with that. Pretty much got a lot of travel. We've been in business for a long time. We're also a member of LMC. We also try to encourage LMC to make us aware of those kind of situations. They're not as prevalent down here as they are up north, but they are helpful that way. Honestly, being there for so long and having relationships with a lot of the vendors in this room for so long, it is a people-to-people business. We've had vendors come to us and say, listen, there's a little bit of a conflict. I mean, we're in the room now. There's a little bit of a conflict between somebody who might want to open up. Are you selling directly to them? If we say, yeah, they back off. And we tell that person no. So I think there's got to be communication between you and your vendors. They can't be your enemy. The vendors are your partner. Wholesalers are your partners. So if you treat them that way, then you can do that.
But it does matter who they sell.
Oh yeah, one of them sold direct to one of my contractors. Really, if I knew about it, and if they went through it from my inquiry to them, yeah, there would be.
Steve, what if one of your manufacturers sold directly past one of your dealer members? Just how would ENAP react to that?
You're saying if our manufacturer goes behind I mean, directly to the dealer, not to the contractor.
To the contractor.
To the contractor. Well, one of my first experiences was visiting a Long Island dealer who talked about a certain treater that he wouldn't buy lumber from because he did sell to his customers, and the treater's point of view was slightly different than the dealer's, but there was definitely a disagreement in that. And what surprised me most about it was that it was 19 years earlier that this whole thing had happened. When I was talking to him, I thought it was 9 days ago it happened. I guess it was, our perspective is the same as our dealers. If it happens, you're cutting out a very important part of the channel. The independent lumber dealer has been the backbone of this channel since the beginning, and these one-steppers and some of the selling directly to contractors is a way of cherry-picking some business that in the long term is going to harm the whole channel.
Bill, I want to ask you a question. I had a discussion the other day with someone who firmly believed there's going to be a resurgence of independent dealers. Now, you have been on both sides of the fence. You work for national conglomerates, and now you're with independent group. Do you believe that, or do you think the national dealer will be the predominant force in the future?
I believe there is a significant opportunity for independents. So what I've learned in my career, it didn't matter where I worked, and how big you were. You were only as successful as who you had as a manager of the business in the market you do business in. So you could be a $4 billion company. If you had a great manager in the market, your company did very well. If you had a poor manager in the market, you did horrible. It didn't matter, you were $4 billion. And what's going to happen, and this is what would be a challenge for the larger companies. So for 6 years, we took the youth out of this industry, right? You held on to the most experienced people we had. You cut below the bone. And so even if they wanted to expand, the challenge they're going to have with expanding isn't going to be putting up a physical asset. It's going to be putting human capital in there to be able to do the job well. So I think that's going to create an opportunity for quite a few entrepreneurs that are out there today, that they can start up their own business. What's been very fascinating for me in being with my feet on the ground after flying to 50,000 feet for 15 years is the underestimation large companies have at how connected people that are entrepreneurs in the market are and the things that they can do for customers that others can't. It's just an entirely different experience. So I see it as an opportunity. The question is anybody going to take advantage of it?
Do you think for a smaller company, or even a national chain, the liability is too great when something goes awry in a big project?
Well, I think, first of all, I didn't work there.
And I'm not implying that.
What I can tell you is it gets back to what I've learned, right? And we're all supposed to learn more from our failures than our success. And what I've learned is if you choose to get into a business in which you have no knowledge of, then you're just asking for that to happen. And so that's why we're taking the approach in America now. We'll manage construction, we'll do service and warranty, but I don't know how to run a framing business. I don't want to. And here's the other thing that's going to happen. We're in a secular business, right? So they're asking people that are actually in the market, oh, can you start framing houses for me? Oh, yeah, I'll do that, right? Meantime, the person who's going to run that hasn't even built the deck on the back of their house, but now they're going to know how to frame the house. This is where these problems start. And then what happens is, then the labor force comes back, right? And then the framers really do know what they do. Then all of a sudden, well, we don't need you to frame anymore. Now you've built this infrastructure, and you've been replaced by people trying to take that business away from you. So I just haven't found that to be a sustainable strategy.
Thank you. Lawrence Newton, your company deals with a lot of manufacturers who uses your company for distribution. Many times these manufacturers will have several different distributors in the area. First, do you believe manufacturers should protect territories and limited distribution? Now, I'm going to sort of put a qualifier. For example, at our little company, we have 3 different manufacturers hawking one line of siding. Second, what are your thoughts about pull-through marketing by manufacturers Do you think that's a way that they could possibly be trying to pull you out of the equation? And do you embrace it, embrace the view that many manufacturers are trying to weasel between you and your customer when they go visit a customer without you? In other words, how do you weave all that together and maintain your importance to the dealer?
Well, on the singular dual multi-distribution basis, we would think different size manufacturers have different amounts of capacity, have different amounts of needs, and different amounts of product in certain markets.
Let me push you a little bit on this. Just last week, and Bill's probably had this again. Had a guy came to me and said, hey, I need to sell this product to you because my territory ends at Lake County. These other folks who are hawking the same material, they go to Sumter County, but I want you to sell the product so I get credit. This is an individual manufacturer's rep. Are you concerned about that?
I'm not sure I'll answer your question, but I'll take a shot at it.
Okay.
As a distributor, we sell all kinds of things. We sell things that would just kind of be out on the open market that anybody can buy, and the manufacturer's not trying to protect it, they're trying to sell it wherever they can, to a big distributor, small distributor, bigger. There are other products that there's limited supply or branded supply, or a lot of investments going into certain products, and there's a real need for limiting the distribution because they're trying to create value in the product, and you can only do it by putting only a certain amount of it in a given market. So I'm not sure if I'm answering yes or no.
I understand. So in your viewpoint, it depends on the product, but it's not a case in which you don't think manufacturers should form a business alliance, and that's something I'm going to talk about a little later on, a business alliance with U.S. Lumber to distribute their product in Central Florida. For example, my view is manufacturers have just as much interest in selling in Orlando as you do.
I think the manufacturer has every reason in life to try to establish how they want to get to market. They have investment in given product or given equipment, and they're trying to figure out how to put their product in the marketplace in the ways that are best for the industry and in their best self-interest. So you try to line up with a distributor who's well capitalized, a distributor with feet on the street, a distributor with enough equipment. They should be able to choose kind of how they see a partner that they will get the job done for them.
Okay, I'll ask you a question this way. Do you feel like manufacturers are doing a good job qualifying these distributors? Do you think sometimes they're just letting their products be sold by everyone just to get it out?
Yes.
So,
Is it wood fiber alone? Is it certain types of composites? Is it a product of limited supply? I think it goes both ways, and I think that's a normal, natural aspect of just the market seeking its rightful spot.
so you sort of take the position sort of wild, wild west at wholesale level.
So,
Your level.
Or take the position as the wild west manufacturer.
Okay.
But not at wholesale distribution level. I think it's a pretty orderly place in the channel, and I don't mean that in a negative way towards manufacturing.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth. Did I hear you say you felt like they need to do a better job qualifying people like your company to sell their products?
On some products, sure. I think it's an intentional effort should be made by the manufacturer to be satisfied that they're getting the products they want in the place that they want.
And so he really, he went to China, he went to Brazil to get wood. And initially he was forced to use an agent in many cases. But as quickly as possible, you've got to You got to migrate from that model to where you're dealing directly with those factories in China. And that's not, it's easier said than done. You think you're dealing with a China factory, you're really not. You really have to peel that. I mean, to answer your question specifically, absolutely. I think that even at Roberts, we should be exploring options in terms of acquiring, we talked about it this morning.
What defines a dealer to you?
Well, I think the traditional dealer that you're speaking of would be, like Romac or FBMA members would be a stocking lumberyard that basically buys our material for resale to the public or to contractors. So that would constitute a dealer. Now, of course, we sell to Robbins, we sell to U.S. Lumber, so we've got different, you got treatment plants, we've got, export, we go export, so the dealer itself, the lumberyard, like Judge and I have back there, Carolina, sitting there, that's not all of our business, so, but the bottom line is basically, it's not to an end user, you got to be selling it to that end user, so there's always going to be somebody in between there. Now, it could be an office wholesaler that's selling to a contract, a huge multifamily contractor or something like that.
How do you establish those guys? If tomorrow I want to become a huge office wholesaler, that just calls down now a huge office wholesaler and
You won't
here's
believe how
my
many we
credit
get.
application.
You won't believe how many we get.
And how do you separate that?
It's precarious to say the least.
Because frankly, I hear from people that's some of the issue.
Very much so. And I think that's probably one area that's going to get dicier for a mill to be able to follow those guidelines that subcontractors are. But it's, again, this is relationship building businesses we talk about. So we ask some pretty personal questions, and usually an office wholesaler doesn't. It takes a while for them to get on our radar and actually buy something from us. But most of them we've done business with for decades. So.
Brian Scott, how about Robbins?
Yeah, Don, I think we consider the dealer something 17. And I have experience, obviously, for the recent company. I travel with our sales guys, everyone except one. So I drove up and down 27, I went up and down the East Coast, and frankly, I never experienced what you're trying to do. You're describing. Most of the relationships that we have, we've had for a very long time. And I didn't experience anywhere where there was a shell company that's approached us. We feel that that relationship is really, really important. And we wouldn't want to jeopardize that relationship by wanting to sell you something. Who is a fly-by-night company. It's just not in our family.
Okay.
And so,
Steve, you've heard these other three guys talk about how they define it. Is your standards higher or lower, or where do you think they're missing the mark on something?
I would just add the longevity piece of it. I think if the deal's been around a long time, and you have a certain, which we do, a certain longevity element to it. We don't want people that just started a year ago or 2 years ago. People that have been in business for a long time. We don't see as much of it as the person that may just start a business tomorrow and try to join you now.
So you think the track record is important?
Track record, they've been there many years, and it's a more secure operation. But I do agree, you have to be in retail lumber, you have to be full line of products, you need to stock inventory, you need to form some traditional lumber yard. And again, back to being a cooperative, if we're having people that aren't in that cooperative mode, we don't have any strength at all as a cooperative without our membership. So that our membership being uniform and how they operate is a big part of that.
And once again, if the manufacturer tried to go straight to a contractor and omit you and your dealer, would there be any punishment, or how would you handle it as an ENAP group?
Well, we would be first alerted by the dealer, who would give us a fairly good indication what we should do about it. So we would deal with it. And I can't say it's happened that often, Don, but I've seen it for our guys that have come to us and said, by the way, such and such a manufacturer is now selling to my customers. So I haven't encountered that much of it in the field.
Well, one thing I think is the reason why by the way, this topic was chosen by the FBMA panel, and Toby gathered the experts on this. But I think the reason why it's brought up because of the internet and multiple sources of distribution, I think everyone on the supply chain is feeling infringements, and we're just trying to sort out where did these infringements go and start. This question is for everyone. What is the one thing that bothers you the most on how people do business, up or down, in your current supply chain? In other words, whether it's below you, above you, side, what bothers you the most in how people are doing business? I'll start with Rick Sanders this time.
After polling all of our sales managers, our products, the number one thing was customers waiting until the last minute to buy. I think when times were good, we had a pretty, that transportation portion of the formula was pretty good. There were a lot of truck drivers out there, and it's just, you could talk 2 day, 3 day delivery with no problem. Even as we went into the recession, and even coming out of it now, that's been the biggest, problem is people want it just in time. We still want 1 or 2 day delivery, but our transportation situation now, it's just not happening.
I think that's indicative of cash is king.
It could be, yeah.
Brian Scott?
I think you're going to talk about it a little bit later on, but cherry picking the market. Whether you're on the normal retail side or even on the wholesale side, having someone coming in and buying a strictly commodity product, right? And they don't realize how important that balanced portfolio is in selling product. We're all in here to make money, right? And if you've got someone who's continually, and all they want is that low margin, commodity items, and you're going location, by the product. That's problematic. It doesn't give us the opportunity to get the kind of return that we want, and it's really not the business model.
Do you think in a way, though, people at your level, they're the ones who created that monster?
I don't think
By allowing themselves to be cherry picked?
well, that's certainly a possibility. I'll give you my point about that. I think that we have to be resistant to that. I think the other thing that goes hand in hand with that, if you got someone who's constantly cherry picking, you're not going to develop that relationship, right? And when inventory gets tight and pricing gets tight, you're going to have a different opinion about that individual, right? So I think that as a group, we all have to work together. And I just think that everyone has to be aware of that particular element of the business. It is problematic.
Deanna, what bothers you most?
As far as cherry, can I follow up a little bit on
Absolutely.
perspective? As far as cherry picking, I think we all have been through the years, cash crunch, obviously. But also, as far as the wholesalers bringing material to us, it went from every day to 3 days a week to maybe 2 days a week, the truckload would go, you weren't going to get it kind of thing. So you might not have been cherry picked for a price reason, it might have been cherry picked for an availability reason too. You can agree with me, builders are the last, but builders wait till the last minute to order from us too. You're perfectly aware of that. So that sometimes, again, on the front lines, we have to make decisions based on the demands of our builders. As far as if I can change one thing, just like you mentioned earlier, we took out so much youth in the industry, a lot of that middle management. Now that things are picking back up and we try to order something or call a wholesaler and try to order the correct product, talking to the individual inside, sometimes it's not thoroughly trained, it's a little struggling sometimes because we want to just get through it as quick as possible. That's not across the board by any means, but that's one concern. As far as proper training of the product line that they're carrying, as far as technical questions, I've always been concerned with that training at that level, and I go straight to the manufacturer if these are the technical questions anyway, just by warning that I'm giving the wrong information.
Lawrence, is there validity what Deanna's saying about people at your level when they call up, they like the expertise? Do you have not so much your company, I'm not going to judge, because I know all your people are competent, but do you see at your level there's a competency gap that's affecting your industry?
absolutely agree when you say so. Competency, maybe, I don't know that word, but just trained up. I mean, we're trained really young one in our industry, we're doing a good job with it. It just all falls on the individual business generally. I mean, people also have time to train, we're too busy to train, resources to train. Youth in our industry is a big time competition. They want to be trained. They want to know how well we do it as companies.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, I just asked you the question, is there one thing that bothers you up or down the supply chain?
Well, this is a little, it is probably something that is really little, but it bothers me because I've dealt with it all my career. It's, you know, there's manufacturers, and I'm talking about making product out of, making product out of a tree, and product's got to be graded, and it comes in different lengths, 8 to 16 foot. Our industry has made it really hard on the manufacturer, which makes it hard on the distributor, which doesn't make it easy on our dealer customer. To get 16 foot, it's, that length is the discipline in the supply chain. You really need a 16. If we can do better as an industry, it would be helpful, good at all levels. If the contractor thinks he needs a 16, that's all he needs is 16. Can't be any but a 16. Wants it tomorrow, it's tomorrow morning. That's close to me.
Well, it sounds like that's amazing. I guess they don't grow 16 trees. Bill Meyer, what's one thing bothering you now? You've seen the supply chain everywhere.
Yep, so I'd say the biggest thing is just the lack of knowledge of the supply chain, the naivety of people in each one of the steps. I'll give you an example of that. So I meet with customers on a regular basis, with the buyer, with the president, with the ops person. I don't think there's a builder out there today that understands if we have a 20% increase in housing starts in Florida next year, that there is not an infrastructure to support. Rubber band will snap. We'll all be big because of money. We'll have pricing power again.
Remember what I said about the A&M? You want to hear amen for that?
We will have pricing power again. We don't quite have it yet, which is why it's 5.5. I just think it's just the lack of knowledge. People, they're not worried about trying to figure out what's really going to go on. They're just managing for that 16-footer. I need it tomorrow. And there's a storm on the shore. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, great point. Steve, you manage a pretty good sized supply chain, huge one. What sort of bugs you?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges our lumber dealers have had, more in different regions than others, but we've exited a lot of businesses over the years, roofing, gypsum, we've left those specialty houses. There was a report that came out about 2 years ago by Principia, some people probably saw it. It was a pretty good comprehensive view of how product got from the manufacturer of the mill to the end contractor, and how much of it is growing in these one-step channels. And nothing has hurt the independent dealer, in my mind, and it's still fairly new, that loss of some of that premium, high-margin business with good rebates at the end. So my beef is, I guess, that I feel like the manufacturers have been short-sighted because of the volume that these one-steppers bring and cutting our guys out of that business. And I think long-term, they're going to be hurt by it because the pricing power is going to be with these one-steppers. There's going to be no other channels to move gypsum or move shingles anymore. And there's no brand loyalty with one-steppers. The roofers can install any brand, one brand today, one brand tomorrow. So they're going to lose some of their strength and some of their brand loyalty and their profitability long-term because of cutting out these lumber dealers. So that's the thing that's kind of aggravating most. I would say the brand loyalty to the dealers that brought them to the table has disappeared with a lot of these one-steppers because the volume of the one-steppers has dropped.
Well, you're actually a big conglomerate. Do you think that because of what you're saying, and I know the answer probably, but do you see the co-op business, whether it's LNC, ENAP, or whoever, that's going to expand?
But we've done some things to help the situation. We've beefed up our rebates. We've actually taken, done things that have never been done before, including taking inventory, newspaper inventory of shingles during block buy season to help some of our smaller dealers get through it. And a couple of our brands have worked with us on that, which is unusual. But they get pressured back from these one-steppers because our guys are all of a sudden in their market selling at the prices that they're selling for. And so it kind of goes, but says, we have reacted to it, but it's hard. When you look at the report, more than half the materials now moving outside of us in these categories. So it's hard for the manufacturers to ignore it.
Okay. I want a quick answer from everyone on this. Looking in the future, what does the supply chain look like in 3 to 5 years? Do you see, and basically focus on this, do you see more two-step distribution, or do you see more direct manufacturing distribution? In other words, manufacturers can say, I don't need a two-step, I'm going to go straight to the dealer. Or maybe even straight to the customer. What do you see next 3 or 5 years? Sort of give me your crystal ball approach, and I'll start with Brian this time.
I think that everyone is going to try to make this more efficient. I mean, our strategy is to continue to support it. But I think we should think outside of the box too. So say Bagwell Lumber wants to sell a pole barn, right? And if I could move that product directly from my facility in Terrytown and take it right to that end user, we're still flowing through that idea. To me, that makes sense, right? Anywhere that I'm going back to, once again, it's all about efficiency, and it's about touching it the least amount. So I like the concept of keeping that relationship in place, but start thinking about let's moving that product. Assuming we work with you, that might be a good thing. Assuming we work with you, if we can move stuff directly from our facility, that's a smart thing to do.
But she was just telling us that used to get every day delivery, now we're down to twice a week. So is that, are you saying you believe next 3 or 5 years, folks like you and him and Lawrence, and you're going to expand your fleets and expand to the same day coverage and go to Howey in the Hills, Florida, and drop off a pole barn?
Well, I think that we should explore different options in terms of transportation.
Let me ask you, Deanna, would you want Brian to drop a pole barn of yours to your customer at Howey in the Hills?
No, because again, it eliminates that customer relationship in a way.
Would
They see
you-
the Robbins.
Would you be concerned that all of a sudden your customer would become a Robbins customer?
Correct, because they're going to ask as soon as they see the truck. I mean, that's,
Respectfully, I just think that you have to have efficiency, right? Every time you touch that product, you're going to cost. And then you have to have insurance from someone like us that says, listen, this isn't going to interfere with our relationship. We're just trying to be more efficient.
And I agree with you 100%. The point I was making in the illustration is the mistrust, I think, from dealers giving up contractor information. Bill, would you be happy to let Lawrence ship the material direct to your job site?
No, and I think, the other thing is, it's a great conversation to have, but, one factor you have to put in there is it rains a lot in Florida. And so what may be scheduled today, ain't going today. And so the logistics challenges with that. But yeah, I would not want a manufacturer to ship direct. There's a cost associated with distribution. You can go from a manufacturer to a builder, but I think you're going to struggle to get that cost down. And the builders are customers, so nice, but they're very inefficient. How many times do we go and count? I have to go to the job site 4 times, and we did everything right from the front end, but it's just what happens at the job site. It's very inefficient at the job site until that changes. I don't see how you do that. I think supply chain is going to look very similar to the way it does now 2 years from now, 5 years from now. And in part, it's going to be because we're going to run into this capacity limit. And the housing may not get impeded by a lot of homeowners to buy. It may get slowed down by how many trust plants we opened in the state of Florida the past year?
Right.
2. Right? And I know last September, October, just about every trust plan in Orlando was at max capacity, at least on a single shift. Some are running 2. So where are the trusses going to come? So we've got this in front of us.
Hey, Lawrence Newton, how do you see the supply chain in 3 to 5 years?
I would agree with Bill. strongly with you. I think the supply chain works. It's worked for decades. It's going to be working, I would think, decades from now. It's just logical. Manufacturers make a product, they got to do it fast. You can't stack it up. So you got to go to the distributor, just spread it out and keep it. Dealers dealing with a builder who has a sense of urgency, and it just flows through that supply chain pretty logically. It's worked perfectly, but it works. It really works.
Rick Sanders, how do you view the supply chain?
What he said.
And Steve Zeller?
Yeah, I would just say, briefly, I think it's, the risk to the supply chain and how it's run today is not really from manufacturers or even from the economy. I think it's the contractor himself. These medium-sized and small home builders continue to do what they do. They'll always need the supply chain we have today. But the risk is that they don't. 10 years from now, 12 years from now, there's no contractors to do it. They haven't been hired, they haven't found the skills. And a lot of stuff is being off to the national builders and the track builders. And that's going to put the supply chain we see today in jeopardy more than anything else.
We've got 27 minutes left to go, and I'm going to speed up. So I'll ask you, if I ask you a question, sort of give a more concise answer. Great discussion, and thank you so much. And I hope that people enjoying it. But this one's for Steve Sell, Rick Sanders, Frank Scott, and Lawrence Newton. Is contract and commitment buying lumber and plywood over? Does that matter? Rick, big deal for you guys.
Not as much as you would think, though, Don. I don't think it's going to change much, at the mill level, particularly our.
Okay,
a lot of contracts.
let's assume Bill Myers, right? We're going to get a supply wall in the next year or so. And it's been in business 30-something years, across the board. He believes it. Say that happens. Will that bring back commitment and contract buying?
Most certainly. From our standpoint, when we went through the Great Recession, nobody wanted a contract with a lumber mill, or an OSB. That wasn't going to happen. Now that times are getting better, everybody wants to talk commitment. There's only a limit that we do to that, because they're at our level. I'm sure other places are going to disagree with the other bills, but it's a little nebulous to us, because we find that when it's, like I say, when the market is soaring, people want to lock in a price. Let's work on something. When it's in the, market's headed down, they're going to say, hey, can we dig out of that contract? We have those 5 trucks a week. Can we make it 2? And can you make this one a mixed truck rather than a straight load? So
That's right. Brian, what do you feel about that?
In discussions with our team, we still think, I don't think it's yet. I think it's a numbers issue. It's all volume. You've got a demand, and if you project that demand over a period of time, and ensures you that that flow of inventory is going to be more consistent, then that makes sense. And it makes sense to our team. So I don't think it's time. I think it's much, but I would say it's more related to volume and SKUs. So that's how we look at it.
I'm a little curious. Back in the day, once again, probably dating myself, if you bought some treating lumber, for the most part, you bought it from one company. Treating people had loyalties. Have you seen that go away?
You're talking about in terms of Robbins specifically?
Robbins and, you have the various treaters. And back in the day, you would buy all your treating lumber from one person. And now it seems to be a little more open. Has that gone away?
I think there's still some loyalty there, but I think that once again, when the economy went south, several people discussed it. I think there probably was more strain, so to speak, but we would like to think that those loyalty will still be there going forward. And also it goes to if you're doing the right job, right? Is the quality of the product there?
Yeah.
Is your on-time delivery, is that working? And if you're responding to the customer's needs. And so I think if you're doing those things, then you're going to see some of that loyalty there.
Lawrence, how about contract and commitment buying? You see it dying or coming back?
Absolutely coming back.
Are you seeing it now come back?
Some species,
Okay.
it's just tied to growing, the need to kind of fiber down programs, but we have to get it, and we never had it for your customers, you have to get it from you. So
I know Eaton Out does a lot of unique things about it. They have contracts, they have commitments, so even hedge buying, I believe. How are you seeing your members react? Are you seeing an increase in that, or are they shying away from it?
Contracting, the mills will tell you the contracting with the independent yards are down, contracting with losses are up, and they're probably about neutral. I was always surprised the mills want contracting, they're always pushing us to get more of our dealers to, but at least the lumber mills don't want to give you anything for that commitment. So you get typically market prices, the panel guys give you a little bit more, so they're willing to do it. But on average, I'd say the only guys that are really committed to contracting are large dealers that just want a steady supply of 40–50% of their stuff. As one dealer said, it's something I don't have to shop for, it's going to be in there. The other thing is a lot of contractors and Indiana's customers are dependent on a certain species and grade. And sometimes, even if there isn't a supply shortage in general, there may be a shortage of that particular grade. So the contractor, they will have it, the contractors get what they need.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Don, another thing I want to touch base on, you got to remember that Langdale, we got one salt mill. We got one of those people. We don't have multiple mills, and so that's the forum from which I'm speaking is now if you've got the Gilman guys they're here in the room that have multiple sawmills and produce a tighter, they're producing mainly 2-4 and 2-6, then they're more apt to want contracts on that. We produce 1-4s through 2-12s, so we've got our production is spread in smaller production. So I would say that the contracts become more important if you have multiple mill locations. So I just want to make that clear.
For all our panelists, and once again, try to keep your answers as brief as possible. What does a loyal customer get over someone who's a cherry picker? Is loyalty to business relationships overrated? We always talk about it, heard it a number of times, business relationships. Are they overrated? From my standpoint, maybe Deanna and Bill, sometimes you look at it and say, okay, I've been loyal, but I hear that X, Y, Z got this. What do you think about that? Loyalty and cherry picking. Should a loyal Thomas Lumber Company get better treatment than the cherry picker calling Brian Scott?
I mean, I would hope so, yeah.
Do you believe you are?
Really hard to tell.
Okay.
Again, geographically, as far as Thomas Lumber is concerned, I've got the luxury of several wholesalers right in my backyard in Central Florida. Sometimes I don't have to deal with some of those issues. But as far as cherry picking, I would hope we don't have that reputation of doing that. But honestly, it felt like for 2 to 3 years, because we were so tight in personnel and so lean on our inventory, I felt like I was cherry picking everybody.
Okay.
Because now we're just to a point where we're getting back again, getting full truckloads again, not incredibly mixed trucks or really small deliveries and things like that. So from our perspective, unfortunately, it felt like we had to for a while.
Is it important?
Just not availability.
Is it important for you to have a relationship with Lawrence Newton?
Yeah. Of course.
So you
Well, it's important for me to have a relationship with other vendors like Lawrence too, just because again, our longevity, where we've been and what we've done, I personally know most of them. And you don't want to, in my opinion, put all your eggs in one basket with anything, customers or your vendors.
Bill, how do you rate the loyalty to a particular mill or manufacturer versus a cherry picker? And in your company, in other companies, were the business relationships important to you?
Yeah, I think when you align yourself with a small group of vendors, that loyalty becomes a two-way street. And what they tend to do as vendors is they enable you to be one, grow your business. So whether that's going out there and doing a joint sales call, and you've got the manufacturer who has the expertise in the specs, and then you're an individual salesperson. But yeah, I absolutely believe that loyalty does matter.
How about you, Brian?
I spoke to it earlier. I think that it's an important component. It's something that, even though I've been in a short period of time, I've seen it within the groups that sit here today. So I just think that at the end of the day, we're in a relationship business. And
I'm going to sort of ask, you see a lot of people in this room, and there'll be a lot of people, do you think that FBMA people who support the FBMA and organizations like this, they should be all the people who do business and show up for this show? Should that matter?
I think so, right? I mean, we're in a small community, right? It's a small fraternity.
Right.
And we all, there's the expression, raising ties raises all boats, right? So I think that to have that loyalty and to have that commitment, if I know somebody and they pick up the phone and call me and they say, hey, Brian, can you help me with this? I'm going to be a lot more happy. And you develop those relationships in an environment like this.
Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, I think loyalty is paramount in this industry.
Does it matter to you?
Absolutely. And a loyal customer gets moved to the front of the line with pricing, availability, delivery times. Yeah, there's no question about it.
And Lawrence, do your loyal customers get treated better than the ones who cherry pick? And is it important to your business model?
I'd say they get treated a lot better, because they have to be treated better. They're working with you, they're, relationship word, partnership word, probably get a little overused. Loyalty, what does that really mean? But the people that are trying to do business with you, or that you consider loyal, if they're going to get the best of what we would have to give, everybody, everything we've said, and everything else there is to give, they've earned it.
Hey, Bill, what value proposition does a real vendor partner bring to you? And what will it take him or her to get your role?
Well, I think the biggest thing they bring is, one, they're helping you grow your revenue. So any way they can support you to grow revenue, because making money starts at the top line. I think just doing what they say they're going to do, and coming to you when they see things in the market that maybe you're not aware of. So giving you insights on, so other Lawrence company calls up and says, hey, there's problems over in Chile, and we're going to have some shortages coming up, right? Well, you'd rather know that like as far out as you possibly could. So I think those are the things that matter. It's not just all about the net price on the invoice.
Is it supply, the price, the quality, availability, oversaturation, direct selling by wholesalers or manufacturers? What sort of bugs you the most?
Dealing with the clientele that I deal with, probably quality and availability are my two biggest. I do deal with a customer base that is price conscious, but are willing to pay for a better quality, a better service. So all of those are always a concern, but mainly price and quality for me, as far as who I deal with customer managers.
Quick question for the panel. I have just coordinated each one of you, king or queen, of the supply chain. You are the ultimate authority. You're like the folks in Washington, D.C. What would be the first step or process you would change, add, or delete in the supply chain today? If you were the ultimate authority, what would you change? Rick Sanders, what would you change?
I'd probably put random links out of business and eliminate commodity pricing.
That's a fair question.
Why can't we come up with a cost plus basis? I mean, in forest products, I can tell you what our general manager back there, he can tell you exactly what our break-even point is per thousand. Let's put a decent profit on it, sell it to you guys. Well, we change the prices maybe once a year, twice a year. I can't find anything wrong with that, can you? Maybe office wholesalers might not make it. Sure, left the room saying, okay, say that.
Brian, Scott, what would you do?
If I was running say I had a 10-store chain in Florida, I go back to what Bill said earlier. So much of it is just blocking and tackling. I would just hammer that service relentlessly. I would also talk about product knowledge. I'd make sure my team knows, from the spec standpoint, and knew the quality of the product, and knew the specs of the product. I just think that blocking and tackling, if you're running a business, you gotta have that.
Lawrence Newton, you're the king now. Wearing a nice crown, you change anything in the supply chain, what would you change?
You said king.
Yeah, you're the king.
seeing it.
I would wish that we would treat our industry, I wish it was possible for us all to be able to think about it consciously. Is this in the best interest of the industry? And we are in this industry together. It's the sunset of the industry here in Florida, but in our whole industry. It's our careers. We're making a living. To treat the industry at the highest level of respect it deserves.
Steve Sullivan?
Yeah, to build on what Lawrence said, I think there's a bit of lack of understanding and respect, I think, among the different channel members sometimes. I heard a dealer and a distributor arguing about whose job was easier at one time. And I think they both have their challenges, and sometimes we don't understand that. Why a distributor needs to charge for small orders and doesn't always have the inventory somebody wants, and why a dealer can't take more inventory and stock it up and sell it over next year. There's that kind of, friction right now. I think we just need to kind of, step back and have a better understanding of how tight the margins are for everybody and cooperate a little better throughout the chain. If it came to agree cooperation, that's what I would do.
But do you ever see the possibility of, and I know this is stuff for a co-op, but a co-op take actual position into a cash position and a block buy to supply materials for their dealers to help pull through sales?
We do it with a very restricted cap. We do it for lumber, we do it for anything really made of wood. We'll do it, not a lot of manufactured stuff, except the shingle example I gave earlier. We haven't offered too much there. But I think that's one of the issues right now. It's a good understanding. There was a song in the 60s, I don't know, you've got problems, I've got mine, I can't remember who sang it, but I think, we got to understand each other's problems a little bit better. I think we can make it more profitable for everybody in the business.
Bill Meyer, what would you change?
I'd eliminate 3 bids and a cloud of dust. When I started in the industry, didn't have fax machines. Fax machines came in, and now have gone out in my time in the industry. I didn't have email, didn't have internet access, didn't have a cell phone. We build a house the same way today that we did 32 years ago. And until the builders get into a mindset of cost of ownership versus what's my price this month, I will tell you I can sit here 32 years from now if I'm lucky, and I would be able to tell you the same story. So eliminate 3 bids and a cloud of dust, and okay, that guy was cheap this one.
Now, you're the only queen on the panel, and I suspect your answer would be to cut the heads off the other 5 kings. But what would you change, Queen Jenkins?
I don't know. I've been so fortunate in this business that I don't have a lot to complain about. And I think most of the wholesalers and vendors are genuine and sincere in what they do. And we do have a lot of veterans in this industry that really have our industry at heart. And if I could pick one little pet peeve, again, dealing with custom home builders where you can't even have a fingerprint on anything that's stain grade or even paint grade, it seems like. It'd be nice for some of the wholesalers just to take that extra time to protect some of those higher cost items when they ship them to us.
Good point.
Just a little, that's just one of my little pet peeves.
We're getting close. We've got about 10 minutes and just a couple more questions. Real quick, what's the weakest part of the supply chain now? The weakest part, from cutting the tree down to nailing it up. Rick Sanders.
Without question right now, transportation. We lost, I read, from 2006 to 2010, we lost almost 400,000 truck drivers. And we haven't gotten back yet. So, just recently we've crossed over that $3 a mile delivery for lumber. I mean, to get truck drivers back in business, as one of my big customers, treaters and manufacturers said, we're going to have to pay $7 a mile to make inroads. I'm telling you, it's coming.
Wow. Brian Scott.
I agree 100% with Rick. I think this transportation issue is scary. I think that the drivers, they can't pass a drug test. It's very expensive. They continue to drop. There is an extreme shortage of drivers. Everything you read indicates that this is going to continue to get exacerbated. So I think this is scary, and it's something that we all need to do.
Mark.
credit to the people who are in business today.
But you're saying you lost 2 new people.
No,
Okay.
I mean, rather than say the builder or say,
Okay.
I think the weak links are gone. I'm going to agree with these guys. They can comment on further on your last question.
Okay. Steve Sutton.
It's hard to disagree that trucking and the people that drive trucks is the biggest issue right now. But long term, I think, for the most part, the supply chain is still intact, even through a very, very tough recession. But I think growing that supply chain through skills and additional capacity with trucks and truck drivers is going to be a big trouble for all of us the next 3-4 years.
Deanna, what do you think is the weakest part of the chain now?
Again, trucking, because you know what items you're going to wait on, probably.
Are you having difficulties locally to hire truck drivers?
No, as far as mine.
So you have plenty of drivers? Oh, really?
A little bit different kind of.
No, I was saying that for a reason. You probably have a bunch of calls to your store. Bill Meyer, how about you?
I think it's capacity, both in physical capacity and human capital capacity. And I think it spreads throughout the supply chain, starts at the builder. And of course, they're trying to hire people that, or in some cases, they're hiring people that don't know how to build houses. Well, that drives us to be inefficient, therefore we drive our suppliers to be inefficient, which therefore drives the mills to be inefficient. So I think it's just going to take us a while.
I have 2 questions I'm sort of combine. First off, I want you to look into your crystal balls. Mine got cracked a few years ago. I can't see it well, but you guys are a lot smarter than I am. Tell me what the next 12 months look like. Do you feel like it's going to go be up, down, flat, same? You're worried about the next 12 months? And what's a fuzzy monster? Now, I define the fuzzy monster out there, something that no one sees. What bothers you when you lay down in your bed, you get ready to close your eyes and say, he said it this way, damn, I hope this doesn't happen. Brian, let's start with you. What's the next 12 months and what fuzzy monster do you see?
I think the next 12 months, hopefully, you never know what's going to happen on the world stage, right? But I think this, as we said earlier, I think it's going to continue to set a steady. I think we're going to continue to see growth. And that's as I said earlier, every analyst I've talked to, they indicate that. So I would assume that that's going to happen.
What type of growth, though? Next 12 months? If you had to peg a number on it.
I can't give you the number. I'm not intelligent enough to give you the number of housing starts. But I'd like to think that sometime in the next 12 months, we can get into that high single digit, possibly double digit comp. That'd be great, right? But that's something I'm not going to do right now. Fuzzy monster, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. I say to repeat myself, I think that whole Amazon.com thing is scary once again. I know that there's some sentiment on board that this channel distribution has been going on a long time, but we would be naive if we weren't at least looking at that and keeping an eye on it.
Lawrence, what is your crystal ball saying? Do you see any fuzzy monsters?
I would think we can see what we did see in growth, maybe a little better, bigger number, 20%. Fuzzy monster is, everybody sees it, but maybe what's fuzzy is how big it could be. If you take this trucking issue that we all are experiencing, they marry that up with the supply issue, which is going to make the trucking issue worse, and they start back and forth. They would have a 20% growth, not enough supply, exactly, absolutely not enough equipment. Bill said everybody might be making a little more money, but it's going to be harder, it won't be as much fun.
Next week, you had a Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans with the rubber band pop.
Next week, I don't know about that. Well, a hurricane hit anywhere hard, the rubber band's going to feel a lot of pressure. If it hits next spring,
Rick Sanders, what's your crystal ball say?
I think we're going to start approaching that 1.5 million start by the end of next year. I just a little surprised that the figures have shown that we've gotten back on track over $1 million. I thought we might kind of flounder through the end of this year, but so after seeing this, you know, newspapers are full of some bright, sunny spots, so I think it would be approaching that 1.5 million. The boogeyman under the bed in the closet, our blunder in government, you know, if we can't find some type of unity here, compromise, then it's going to hurt our industry even more. You know, those bolts out of the blue, Middle Eastern wars, you know, et cetera. You know, Justin Bieber winning the Grammy, something like that. Unimaginable things you can't, you know,
Steve Saylor?